Welcome to History in Motion for the second part of our coverage from round 3 of the Midas Historic Tour taking place at Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit. History in Motion is proudly brought to you by Midas Sport, Gumtree, Mitsubishi Electric and their associated sponsors. Mike Schmidt shares some tips on how to get through the bowl quickly and safely.
Here we are standing at the approach to the bowl. Behind me is probably the fastest corner on the whole racetrack here at Kyalami. That is the mine shaft. Bottom line is whatever car you're driving, whether it's a Formula One car, a world sports car, or a production saloon car, you want to take that corner absolutely flat out. That's what's going to make you feel good, and that's what's going to give you the lap time. The difficulty comes is as you exit that corner going very, very quickly, you have got probably one of the slipperiest corners on the racetrack to follow, and that's right here at the bowl. So you've got to keep your car to the middle of the racetrack. You won't be able to keep it over onto the left. The car's going to want to push all the way over to the right-hand side as it comes out that corner. So you want to keep it in the middle of the road, get it settled because all the weight is going to be over to the outside of the car. You want to bring the car back to center, settle the car as you come and start braking very, very hard to take this right-hander at the bowl. Once you've got your braking sorted out coming into the bowl, the next part is to get the turn in right. I've already spoken about how slippery this corner is. I'm not really sure why it has that characteristic, but it must have something to do with the asphalt at this point. But you really have to focus on making a very gentle and precise turn into this corner. If you get it wrong, as a lot of people do, that's where you're going to end up. This is kind of a medium-paced corner, but the turn-in is absolutely critical. Once you've got the car turned in and it's settled nice, the next thing you aim for is the apex of this corner, which is slightly late, and it's just as you get around towards the end of this concrete piece on the right-hand side. This is the apex point for the bowl, right here. The problem you have here is you've got this little extra bit of concrete just on the inside of the curb, and what that does, it gives the new drivers coming to this corner the illusion that the apex is a lot further back than it is. The problem you've got is if your apex back there, you're going to end up running way off the line and the corner is still turning away from you. So the turn-in is crucial, get the car settled and aim for this very, very late apex point, which is almost all the way around this corner. The next point now is to start feeding the power on. Very important here is feed the power on progressively. Don't just step on it. This is a very slippery part of the racetrack, as we've already said. Let the car run out wide, moving the car in the direction of the outside of the racetrack with the oversteer that's going to start to develop. And on the left-hand side of the racetrack, there's a fantastic piece of curb that's been laid there. Once you know it's there, you can't really see it from here, but once you do know it's there, use it. Get the car onto it and start accelerating away up towards that very fast kink that waits for you at the top of the hill.
The Sabat Lotus Challenge, full of colourful cars and drivers, boasts a healthy number of competitors who are getting themselves and their cars ready to take to the grid.
We had a bit of trouble in practice yesterday. New clutch put in the car, worked a little bit late into the night. We got it back and we're hoping for a good race today.
Things are going pretty well. I had a bad qualifying, battled with some oil pressure, starting from 8th, hoping to make it up to about 4th or 3rd. Positive thinking, so we'll see how the race goes.
And what was Rob Gearing's plan to catch Jeff Gable?
Well, I think I've got to get him off the line. If I can't hustle him, I think that's the only way I'm going to live with him. He's really quick, he knows what he's doing. So I think it's about the first 2 or 3 laps, that's what's going to happen. So we'll see.
The green flag is waved and the field head onto the track. Jeff Gable's in pole position with Rob Gearing alongside him. Behind them in 3rd is Glenn Clark with John Glover in 4th. In 12th position is Connor Jones, the first of the Class Cs. The lights go out and as one, accelerators are pushed down and the field race away from the start. Rob Gearing not able to get the jump and Jeff Gable leads the field into turn 1. Behind him the battles begin. Neil Delata having a great start and already chasing down Glenn Clark in 4th position. Through they come into turn 3 and Sean Hewitt in the bright green Lotus is side by side with the dark blue machine of Anton Goose. James Forbes ahead of them is looking for a way past Neil Delata as they head onto the back straight. The front runners pushing hard to eke out any advantage they can on the back straight. Into sunset, Goose and Hewitt side by side, and it is Goose who has the advantage and moves ahead. Rob Mordaunt in his red Lotus hunting down Andre Darfel in the green, blue and white machine. Through Clubhouse and up to sunset they go. Coming up to Leocorp, John Glover leads Neil Delata and James Forbes. Delata takes the inside line and they're neck and neck as they go through Leocorp. Exiting Leocorp and heading down the mine shaft, and neither driver giving an inch. Into the bowl, and Glover moves ahead. Delata fights back though and tries down the inside. Out the bowl and up to turn 13, and John Glover manages to stay ahead of a hard-pushing Delata. Into Sunset, and Jeff Gable in the baby blue Lotus is just ahead of Rob Gearing in his red and white machine. Climbing up to Clubhouse, and Gearing makes his move. He takes the outside line and the pair go round side by side. Heading onto the short straight which leads them to the S's, and Gable manages to stay ahead. Into the S's, and there's nothing between the pair. This is awesome racing, side by side, nothing to split them, and they're managing to not even trade any paint as they're locked in this fantastic battle. Into Leocorp, and this really is a fantastic display of close, clean racing. These guys look like they really are enjoying this close battle. Down the hill to the bowl, and Gearing is trying to plot his next move to try and find his way into the lead of the race. Here's a look around the outside, but he is not close enough to make it work. The battle between this pair has allowed Glenn Clark to move up right behind them and think about challenging them as well. Further back, David Jeremy leads Anton Goose and Sean Hewitt through the bowl. Losing it on the slippery surface, Jeremy spins round and is facing the oncoming traffic. He waits for the traffic to pass and spins himself back around and will continue with his race a few places down. Coming through turn 1, and Neil Delata sees a cloud of dust on the outside of turn 2. It's Estelfa Moorton in the number 70 Class C car who has gone farming. She manages to keep it going through the kitty litter and rejoins the race behind Sean Allen in his bright orange Taylor Motorsport Tornado machine. Coming down to the final turn, and it's Tim Clamp just ahead of newcomer Greg Samuel. Samuel getting a bit crossed up on the exit. Side by side, Chris Woolley and David Jeremy head into turn 1. Woolley marginally ahead of Jeremy, but Jeremy has the advantage going into turn 2. At Sunset, Jeff Gable and Rob Gearing are still running so close to each other in this epic battle that has had them racing practically side by side since the start. Gearing lunges down the inside of Gable, coming into Clubhouse in his bid for the lead position. Out of Clubhouse they come, and it looks like Gearing might have done it. Into the S's they drop, Gearing now ahead of Gable as they're coming up to lap Estelfa Moorton, who wisely stays far out of their battle as she can. Up the hill to Leocorp they climb, and Gable moves alongside Gearing. This battle is far from over. Side by side the pair enter Leocorp, and it is almost like their cars have been joined for this race as the battle has been that close. Gearing edges ahead as they go for the exit, Gable not far behind. Down the mine shaft, Gearing races, hoping he can get away from his newfound blue shadow in the form of Jeff Gable behind him. Through the bowl, and Gearing has edged a slight advantage, but that doesn't mean much between these two. Coming down the hill, and Quinton Roux will be too aware of the leaders bearing down on him as they enter the final bend. Gearing takes the inside line past Roux. Side by side they go onto the start-finish straight, and the checkered flag will be waiting for them. Gable hasn't given up yet, and he puts the power down and moves alongside Gearing. This is going to be a sprint to the line. And it's Jeff Gable who marginally snatches victory from Rob Gearing by a mere 100th of a second. Neil Delata pushing hard and runs wide coming out of turn 13. This will cost him dearly as James Forbes flies by and moves into 5th position. Further back, Andre Darfel is coming up to lap Estelfa Moorton, and he runs horribly wide at turn 13 and gets spat out across the track and onto the grass on the other side. A fantastic race between Jeff Gable and Rob Gearing saw them separated by 1/100th of a second. Behind them, Glenn Clark and John Glover were separated by 7/10 of a second. Andre Duplessis won Class L and Sean Allen Class C.
Qualifying at one point, we were only 3/1000ths of a second apart. At the end of the race, we were 1/100th of a second apart. And during the race, it seemed like smaller, the gap.
I was really glad that we didn't touch a couple of times. I mean, we really went side by side, I think, on numerous occasions. On one of them, I think it was about half a lap. And well driven because I don't know how there wasn't paint swaps.
It was amazing.
Exciting.
We went side by side through Clubhouse in that little gap for the S's, up the hill in the S's, around the top, astonishing, absolutely astonishing. In the end, it came down to about half a nose cone. You cannot get closer than that. Tough but fair racing throughout, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Join us after the break for more close racing from Heat 2 of the Sabat Lotus Challenge.